Welcome to Still Plays Galaxy Heroes. This is Grand Arena, the second match, second week, season 35. We continue the Nightmare week after a loss in round 1, but we are still in Kyber 2 thanks to that 3-0 finish we had last round in Kyber 3, giving us a little bit of a buffer, but we're probably going to go 0-3 this week. It is a very tough bracket, but with the results of my last round, my opponent Barney G, my defense did do a little work and help out. So up front here, we get a hold from Mon Mothma. Down below, he one-shots this zone. Back wall, we get some help with a hold from Maul. And we get a hold in fleets with the Executor. But he has a pretty efficient run. With the bracket, my opponent is J-Mag here, and we get a little help because this round, my opponent is the second lowest with GLs in the bracket, with only 5 Omicrons, though he's right in the middle with everyone else. Relic units, he's pretty good, nothing scary though. Gear 11 plus, he's pretty solid with his depth. But I think some of that, as we're going to see down below, he is some inconsequential stuff. With the 6-dot mods, he's a little bit weaker in relatively speaking to the rest of the bracket. He's weaker with the top 25 mods. He's the weakest top 25 speed averages, but his top 500 is okay. So distributed his mods fairly well, just not as top heavy. Counts are pretty weak, particularly though on the top 25 plus mods, with only 3. That is one of the lowest I have seen in a long time. But the 20 plus and the 15 plus are not as scary looking. With the Datacrons, though, he's not a major participator, but he does have 3 level 9 Datacrons. I'm still figuring out how much I think that means something with this set. It's nothing like the Lord Vader one last time. So that's a to be determined for me. Lord Vader and Jabba are the GLs he does not have. Moving down below, and this is what I'm talking about, some of the consequential or inconsequential characters at various gear levels. He does have Iden, but no Star Killer, only player in the bracket without Star Killer, so that's a little bit of help. Does not have the Ami on Traya, but he does have the Savage Ami, but only gear 12. Ben Solo he does have, but only at gear 11, or is that gear 10? At gear 10. No Amis there, but that's fine at that level. Now, these characters are fine, and he does have a 6-star or 7-star profundity. Looking at the Hotbot, the bird's eye view kind of split who has the advantages. Much stronger guild. Clears and undersizes are pretty good. Not as strong as mine, but still very respectable. There's a couple other Omicrons in the Territory Wars, but not too many. Mod analysis we took a look at. The relic distribution is what I want to emphasize here. A lot of tier 7 and tier 5, but distributed fairly well considering his counts. Speeds they're fine. But you can see that's where we start having advantages, is I'm much better modded. I could be far better than I am. Let's take a look at that in detail. And you'll see that he's a little shallow. So the Moff Gideon is right around the 300 speed, and that's 17 characters. That's pretty shallow. So he attacked first, but he's attacking at the same time that I am. Down below, though, 2 from Qui-Gon, 2 from Malgus. And we get a hold from Padme, Raddus, and from CLS. Now we have to deal with bounty hunters, Mon Mothma, a Sith squad, Nute, Malgus. Down below, Rey, Raddus, Geos, CLS, and Dooku. But that's a lot to handle in the amount of time that we have. But fortunately, only one GL that we can see. Now we're going to start here with the Separatist. The Hutt Cartel is how I have been dealing with the Separatists lately. As long as there isn't Watt or Asajj around, they're a pretty good counter for them. And they punch way up. Right around 5 stars is where I started feeling comfortable with these guys. Bosch and Lando are a little easy to take out. They're pretty fragile, but up against Dooku, droids, they're going to be great. Nute. Jango is a little wonky, but I've had a number of successful runs up against Jango. This is the last you're going to see of them at gear 12 or lower for me, because they're at relics now. We are working on Jabba tickets. These next 7 minutes or so here is the reason why this video was delayed. I needed to record my talk over it. I don't know, messed it up or deleted the wrong video file or something. So the only thing here is just timing out these attacks here on Droideka. I'm going to want to land Armor Shred if I can. Land the Disarm. I do basic for a little bit just to save my specials for when the damage immunity comes off. And now that the damage immunity is off, I'm trying to take advantage before it comes back on. Just throw down an Armor Shred and we take him out. CLS, this is going to be quick and easy. We're just going to Savage it. I think at this point I don't remember how many times I've had a Relic 5 Savage around. At Relic 3 this wasn't working for me. And we'll see it in this match. Just CLS is a little too survivable and the amount of damage that Savage can do is not enough. But at Relic 5 it's pretty comfortable. And I might just leave him at Relic 5 for a bit unless there's other teams he can be countering that are that he needs higher relics to punch up against. But CLS right now is pretty satisfying. He can take out Iden's squads. There's a number of teams you can bring Savage up against. One of my favorite characters. Really love this Omicron. As you saw, just CLS recovering in the amount of time that we had to focus down on him to get the right RNG. And that's why at R3 I wasn't able to get it to work. We're going to do Vadercron. The Vadercron's gone. We're going to do Vader. We're going to throw on the damage over time Datacron. And I'm going to throw in Talon because Talon gives a bunch of extra stats that are going to be really useful for this. For any match. Actually, in the next video, you're going to see me use them up against Mon Mothma. That worked out pretty nice, too. But Talon with the extra offense, I think extra speed. That way you don't have to use Watt. And in 3v3, I don't really have another use for Talon right now. I guess I could do like a Malgus thing, but I don't want to. Now, Rey here, we're going to attempt Star Killer, but this is one of those things that I've been talking about where I got to up the relic levels on this squad. And we're at a point in my roster where I am working on, now that I'm working on Jabba and I've made those prerequisites, I'm done with them, I can start focusing on other priorities, like making my other counters function better. Now this is a weird comp though where I got a shot. I can at least get it to a cleanup position. From that standpoint it's arguable whether or not I should have just brought in like a JMK and taken him out. And he's only got the 1 GL on defense. We could have done that. But I want to use my Star Killer here as much as possible. I just want as much experience as possible because there's little things I can tweak in my play. Like I've just considered I've considered just doing basics and no specials with Mara Jade and Palpatine to drive up the Unleashed on Starkiller faster. So we waited for the damage immunity to come off. We get rid of G11. We get one nice big hit to take care of Quill. Trigger the damage immunity. But this is at one of those points where, this is what I'm talking about, where the additional relic levels on Palpatine at a minimum and Mara Jade 2 would just make that easier. Or really, it's the additional Omicrons. Because I only have one Omicron on my Starkiller. And it might be time to put on a second or third. So I do a lot of deliberating about this off screen, where I don't want to use counters that I had previously been reliant on, because like Traya, which I used to use here, my Gear 12 Traya up against this. Now that Traya has the Omicron, kind of feels like I should be punching up against other squads, so it's not how I want to approach Raddus, but I think it would have been the best way to handle him, because assuming I had the clock, I didn't have the clock for it, but strategically that would have allowed me to clear the board in a way where if I had like an hour and a half, I would have been in a position where I think I possibly could have won this on banners. But instead, I think about using gas. I decide not to because I might need to use gas to clean up. So I go for JTR because the BB-8 versions can beat this. But because I have a Gear 11 BB-8, I decide I want to use Swolo, plus I have a Relic 7 Swolo. That all sounds like that should probably be fine if BB-8 would win. So I attempt it, but I think I get a little distracted, and maybe BB-8 just would have been the way to play this thing. Next time I see it, I'm going to use BB-8 and just leave Swolo on the sidelines. But you see, like, the idea of it. I get distracted with Cassian. I should have just stayed focused on Raddus. It's just, I didn't feel like we were making any progress with him. But as soon as we lose R2, it's over. So I give up on it. And I go back in and I decide I'm going to clean up with gas. Still, I think I should have cleaned up with Traya. Would have been the better way, because my Traya is not something that I can rely on up against Malgus. Maybe it's a mods thing, but it has not worked for me yet. And I've tried both Nihilus lead and Traya lead. I don't like it. And especially because the gas, or not the Malgus that was used would have been good for gas. Gas would have handled it fine. So we get rid of Raddus and we move forward. But I also used up a lot of clock just thinking that through. Here's the biggest error, though. This was... This completely... Not completely. I messed this up here. But it was not... I still could have recovered from it with a different plan, but I tried to go cheap here, and this was a disaster. I shouldn't have tried to cheap this one out. Because I wanted... It's just a cleanup scenario, and I was pretty sure I was going to see a Kylo team on the back wall, so I wanted to have Jedi Knight Luke for a solo. And that was just foolish, because trying to cheap this out turns into a bit of a disaster. Sometimes you just be safe. Don't take chances like I do. I could take too many chances. As soon as that happens, like, other characters would have survived those hits. And now I can't get to my ultimate. And we're in a horrible position. This is just a dumb disaster. An unforced error. Yeah. Awful. And now I'm wasting clock just trying to hope that something will work. Like this works in 5v5. 3v3, yeah, no. Yeah, just a disaster. But you can see this, I lose a bunch of clock to this kind of nonsense as well. I just couldn't afford to do that. I should have just used JML, Hermit Yoda, JKL. It's not like I need to solo crew. There's plenty of things I could use to beat a Kylo Ren. And so now we're forced into using my JMK here, which is what I wanted to use up against Malgus. And now I have removed that option. And now I'm in a position where I'm reliant on a Traya counter that has yet to work for me. And I do get to do this dumb counter that I sacrificed multiple teams so that I could do it. And not really worth it. Yeah. A little stun. Start hitting Sith Trooper. We got a bunch of counters going. Finally take out Sith Trooper. Like it's a fine solo, but it was not worth that nonsense up against Rey. Especially when Starkiller set us up so nicely. Now you can see this defense isn't that terrifying. I mean, it's not. That's not even the way to characterize it. It's not that strong of a defense. It's a completely manageable defense. And I think part of it is my opponent with 5 GLs is going pretty heavy on offense to counter the opponent's he's singing Kyber 2. That's his approach. So he gives a defense that is manageable. And do I do this now? I thought I did this later. Apparently I do it now. I decided to go Nihilus this time because I've done Traya before and it didn't work. But with losing Nihilus like that right from the start, it just lost. I've tried both. It's just something that's better at relics. Maybe I need to just throw more of the Gear 12 pieces, but I'm working on a lot of projects right now. With Jabba, Afra, and then other characters. But now we shift into a mode where we do a lot more testing. We get to have a lot of fun with the rest of this board, and it goes pretty well. So we are going to do Qira Hondo here, but this is... I want to start giving Hondo meatier opponents to go up against. Because this is a little easy for him to deal with. So the ransom is expired. We're getting... Or the captive is expired. We're getting the stacks of ransom. Now we get this beefy monster who he's Gear 12. I think he's Gear 12 right now. Maybe he was. I think he was Gear 12. I'm sure you saw him a while ago. And he just crushes this. The only thing is, it's lower banners because you're losing characters in it. Now, Iden here, and what do we do? Savage? Net? Is this what I really... Oh, it's because I already used Savage. Now I'm doing Nest Wat because with Wat we can prevent the sacrifices by throwing down the weapon stack. No, it's not what I did. Okay, because I probably wanted to use Nest elsewhere. So we do Bad Batch. I forget about this too much. I already played the next round, and I could have Bad Batched that one. I ended up doing other fun I ended up Savage soloing it. But I keep forgetting that Bad Batch can do this. Because some versions of Iden, I don't want to use my Gear 11 guys. But this works out good for me. Especially at a point in the match where I didn't have a lot of other counters that were going to work for this. And I saved my Nest for another battle. Now we do something fun here. I think this is where I do Sana. There's not a lot of AoEs here, so Sana becomes a good option. And they're a little bit weaker. Sana's just at 3 stars is very weak, so she's very vulnerable, and that's why you haven't seen me test her a lot, because I think until maybe 5 stars, maybe even until she's 7 stars, I don't know. There's very limited viability. Like this kind of scenario is fine, even though there's a couple characters with AoEs. Now Asajj here. What do I do? I don't remember what I did, but I think I came up with something good. Maybe it comes to me later. Wampa the Mon Mothma, that is sensible. Even though it's a weak Mon Mothma team. I wonder where my opponent's using his Kyle Katarn. Way easier without Cardoon and Katarn there to make it more of a nuisance. This is where I use my Nest. Malak. Malak's sensible. Yeah, this is one of those defenses I don't know why people use. Does Maul have an Omicron yet? I know Sidious does. I'm doing this pretty late at night, so that's why I'm like not as sharp. But if I don't record it now, then it means I'm delaying the video a day, and I don't want to do that. That was the sound of a dog on a lap. Is this what I really do? I guess Jedi Knight Revan I can use elsewhere. Okay. Yeah, I guess. Alright, we cleared those territories. Now I got this top one to go with very little time left. Jedi Knight Revan. That'll be very effective here. Should make decent work out of this. So even though there wasn't a lot of time, we still got some good results. But a couple different choices that if I had the more time to think about it, I would have been able to plan out differently for this match. And I think we could have full cleared this one with like 30 more minutes. Takes a lot of time. Now this Nute team, we use the Inquisitor with the Grand Inquisitor Datacron. This is going to crush it. You can see how little time is left. We have a minute. Not enough time to even attempt the Malgus a second time. All I want though is to beat this match in the time that we have left. That's how close we were to the end of the round. There's no real risks in this one. That was punching way up. And the match is over. Yeah, so my opponent did well, but we got enough holds where... Oh, I guess, and I should probably show that because some of this was in process. Let me show what he did. So the final results in these territories. One shot that area. Holds from CLS Padme and Raddus. And with Fleet, he one-shot that. But I think it's pretty safe to assume, based on his defensive strategy, that he went full offense with his ships. And I think, had I planned this out and had a full clock, that I would have been able to clear this board and probably won this match. Especially with the buffer that my defense gave me. Definitely a winnable one. Had just I not gone cheap with JML, I could have JMK'd his Malgus and been fine. Or I could have used my Traya up against that Raddus, and then I would have had gas and JMK to throw at the Malgus. Definitely a winnable match, I think. And it's more, but it didn't have enough time to play it out that way regardless. So congrats to JMag on that one. Working on a couple videos, got a little delayed last week with the Zori Bliss release, but we'll have some time coming up where I'm going to push out a few videos. Some videos I've teased in the past. But thank you for watching. Be safe out there, everyone, and be excellent to each other. This is still Plays Galaxy of Heroes.